At 3:13 a.m., my front door knocked exactly 3 times. Not pounding, not urgent, just 3 perfect knocks, spaced so evenly it didn't sound human. I lay still, staring into the dark, waiting for a fourth. Nothing. I reached for my phone on the nightstand. I'm the kind of person who sleeps with a fan on, my phone within arm's reach, and every lock double-checked before bed. I live alone in a quiet neighborhood, one of those streets that goes dead silent after midnight. No parties, no bars, just porch lights and the occasional car passing by like it's lost. I have a doorbell camera because my sister insisted, just in case, she'd said. I never believed in just in case, not until that week. The first night it happened, I woke up confused, like my brain heard something and dragged me out of sleep before I could decide if it was real. 3 knocks, exactly 3. I stared at the ceiling, listening for a fourth. Nothing. So I opened the doorbell app. The live feed loaded, and there was nothing. Not nothing like darkness, not nothing like an empty porch. It was more like the camera was looking at empty air. The porch was there, the steps were there, the doormat was there. But where a person should have been, the image looked wrong, distorted, warped, like heat rising off asphalt, except it was winter and the air outside should have been still. I told myself it was an internet glitch, compression artifacts, anything that could explain it without forcing me to say the other possibility out loud. Then I saw the timestamp, 3:13 a.m. In the morning, everything looked normal. The porch, the doormat, the doorbell, the world acting like it hadn't just tried to scare me. I checked the event history and found a recording labeled "Motion Detected." But the motion wasn't a person moving. It was the air in front of my door, moving like it was breathing. I laughed, one short, nervous laugh, because that's what you do when you don't want to admit you're scared. Then I went to work and tried to forget it. I almost did. Almost. The second night, I didn't wake up on my own. I woke up because the doorbell app sent a notification that buzzed my phone hard enough to jolt me upright. 3 knocks again. Same spacing, same rhythm. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I opened the app with shaking fingers. This time, the porch light was on, and I could see the distortion more clearly. There was a shape at my doorstep. Not a body, a shape that looked like someone tried to draw a person from memory without knowing what humans are supposed to look like. It was too tall, but not tall like a basketball player. Tall like a shadow stretching the wrong direction. And where the face should have been, the camera couldn't focus. It kept hunting, blurring, sharpening, blurring again, like the lens couldn't decide what it was seeing. Then, the shape leaned toward my peephole. Not the camera, my peephole, as if it knew exactly where my eye would go. The next morning, there was a folded piece of paper wedged under my doormat. I stood over it for a full minute before I touched it, like it might bite. 2 words were written in shaky block letters. Let me in. Underneath were 3 dots, like punctuation mattered, like it was mocking the rhythm of the knocks. I called my sister and tried to keep my voice casual, like this was just some prank. She told me to call the police, and I said what people always say when they're standing at the edge of something they don't want to maim. It's probably nothing. But by the end of that day, I bought a second deadbolt, a door brace, and I left every light on in my living room like brightness could repel whatever was outside. On the 3rd night, I didn't go to bed. I sat on my couch in sweatpants with a kitchen knife I knew I wouldn't be brave enough to use. The TV was on mute. The only sounds in the house were my clock ticking and my own heartbeat. When the time hit 3:12, I opened the app and watched the live feed. Nothing on the porch. 3:12 became 3:13. 3 knocks, crystal clear. My entire body flinched. I looked at the live feed again. Still nothing. No shape, no distortion, just an empty porch. But the knocks were real. I felt them through the door. I heard them in the wood, like the house itself was carrying the sound into my bones. Then the app chimed again. Someone is at your door. The live feed stuttered. For half a second, the screen showed me standing in my hallway, me on the other side of my own front door. Except my face was turned slightly the wrong way, like my neck had one extra joint. Then the feed snapped back to the porch, empty. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might throw up, because the camera wasn't just failing, it was showing me something it had no right to see. I covered my mouth and forced myself to whisper, "Who is it?" I didn't expect an answer, but I got one. Not through the door, not from outside, from the tiny speaker on my phone. A voice came through the Doorbell app, thin, digital, stretched, and it said my name, my full name. I threw my phone onto the couch like it was hot, and then my front doorknob turned, slowly, testing, like someone was learning how locks work. I backed away into my kitchen, staring at the door like it was a mouth. My mind started flipping through every scary story I'd ever heard, every rule people pass around like folklore. Don't whistle at night. Don't look into mirrors at 3 a.m. Don't open the door if you hear your name. And one rule I remembered from my grandmother, something she used to say when I was a kid, and she'd double lock the door before bed. If someone knocks 3 times after midnight, you don't answer. I never asked her why. I wish I had, because that night at 3:13 a.m., someone knocked 3 times, and something else tried to come in without asking again. The doorknob stopped. Silence. I stood there for what felt like forever, waiting for another knock, another twist, another sound. Instead, I heard movement. Not outside, inside the walls. A soft dragging sound, like fingernails tracing behind drywall. Then the Doorbell app notification popped up again, on my TV this time, because I had it linked. The recording autoplayed, and I saw it. The shape wasn't on the porch. It was standing behind me in my hallway, just for one frame, one single frame, like it flashed into existence to prove it could. And in that frame, it had my outline, my hair, my posture, like it was trying on my identity, practicing, learning. I didn't scream. Screaming feels like permission. I did the only thing my body could think of doing. I locked myself in my bathroom, sat in the tub with my knees to my chest, and called 911 in a whisper. When the dispatcher asked what my emergency was, I didn't know how to explain it, so I said, "Someone is trying to get into my house." They asked if I could describe the person. I looked at the doorbell recording again, and my throat went dry because the camera had finally focused for the first time. It wasn't showing a face. It was showing a space where a face should be, filled with moving darkness. And in the center of that darkness were 3 small reflections, like wet eyes catching porch light. The police came. They searched my porch, my yard, the street. They found nothing. No footprints, no note, no sign anyone had been there. They told me my camera probably glitched, that stress can make you hear things, that I should get some sleep. But the next night, I stayed at my sister's house, and at 3:13 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Doorbell notification. From my house. The camera clip was only 2 seconds long. It showed my front door from the outside, and it showed the doorknob turning from the inside. Then a hand appeared in the peephole. Not outside, inside the glass, pressing against it like a spider. And a voice, my voice, whispered into the app.
Next time, I won't knock.
Then the clip cut to silence.